Welcome to Stream After Hours with Kelly Drayovitch and Gwen Hughes.
Hi, my name is Kelly Drayovitch, Vice President Corporate Accounting with Stream Realty Partners, and I'm here with Gwen Hughes, also Vice President Corporate Accounting with Stream Realty Partners. Hi, Gwen.
Hi, Kelly. I'm glad to be here with you today to have our conversation.
I can't wait. So, Gwen, can you tell me how long you've been in commercial real estate and if you caught the real estate bug that I've heard so much about?
Uh, it's actually kind of interesting. I've only been in commercial real estate 4 years. Prior to this, I was doing multifamily. So I kind of got into this by accident. As far as catching the bug, real estate, yes. Commercial versus multifamily, not really sure, but this is definitely different and really interesting.
Okay. Tell me about how you got into multifamily.
So I got to a point in, oh gosh, I think it was around 2009 where I was switching careers, switching jobs again. Businesses closed down. And I decided to pick an industry. So I was looking at healthcare, looking at real estate. At the time, I had my real estate license, which is a whole nother story. But I decided to stick with real estate. So I made a conscious decision to go into real estate. As far as coming to stream and getting into commercial, it really was an accident. The multi-family company I was working for was going to close. So I called Stream. I was calling different companies trying to find jobs for my employees and got connected to Patty in recruiting. And she asked me, "What are you going to do?" And at the time, I had no idea. I was like, "I don't know." So she asked me for my resume and said she would shop it around here. And that's how I ended up in commercial.
That's so interesting. I had
Mhm.
no idea.
Yeah. Well, what about you? How have you been in commercial a while?
I have, for the majority of my career, I've been in commercial real estate. And honestly, I kind of fell into it also. I was in healthcare to start out with. After graduating, the economy was much like it is now in recession, really terrible. I had an internship that was the first opportunity that I got when I graduated and immediately jumped on it. Did not care what industry it was in, just was very grateful to have a job, to be honest. Was in the healthcare industry. It was staffing basically for nurses and was in the billing department. So that's kind of how I got started. Had met my husband in my undergrad degree. He and I had kept in touch, and he had been calling me and trying to get me to come back to Dallas. And I said, well, I'll only come back to Dallas if I have a job.
Mm-hmm.
And so he put me in touch with someone who knew someone who had an opening at Jackson Shaw, and they're a local commercial real estate developer. And that's kind of
Very
how that
cool.
happened.
Very cool.
So, yeah, the rest is history, as they say. But someone who I worked for, Joy Childs, she used to tell me, "You're going to catch the real estate bug. You're going to catch the real estate bug." And at the time, it was like drinking through a fire hose with
Mm-hmm.
everything that I was learning. It's so different. And eventually, I do feel like I caught the real estate bug, and I don't think I'd ever switch industries.
I agree with that. I wouldn't switch industries again. I do like real estate. I do like commercial. I really enjoyed multifamily as well, but it was definitely different. In multifamily, I worked on the property side and not the corporate side. So this is, it's been a while since I've worked on the corporate side. But it definitely is different working so closely with different owners, having different requirements. Um, it was fun to do though.
It's interesting because when I came over to Stream, I also switched from the project side to the corporate side,
Hmm.
and so it was a learning experience for me too, because I also had to deal with different owners, different lenders, different requirements. We had all sorts of different agreements that we had to read, and now it's just dealing with different partners.
Right.
Um, so I very much like this environment better, uh,
Yeah,
dealing with the corporate side of things rather than the project
for
accounting side.
sure. Definitely. But I remember you from the property side because we didn't have a lot of interaction, but I do remember when you were at that Jackson Shaw and we had properties with Jackson Shaw and you would be the person that actually answer us. And so I appreciated that. So when your name came up for this, I was like, "Oh yeah, definitely get her over here."
I remember you saying that during my
Yeah.
interview, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I hope it's a good thing.
Yeah, it
because we
was.
were so stressed out over there with all of the developments we had going on. And I was
Hmm.
thinking, oh boy, I hope I was really nice to her.
You were, so I'm glad you got to come here.
Yes, just real estate is so fast paced. It's,
True,
I feel like in corporate accounting too, though, it is still fast paced. We deal with a lot. There's just so much that crosses our desks.
definitely. But I will say, like you said, I prefer to do this than the other side, than the property side.
Absolutely. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about your job?
I think it's a couple of things. One, accountants as people. I think they think we're probably really boring, that we're sitting here just waiting for numbers to come shooting out at us. And so that's no, no, we are a lot of fun. So I think there are two things, two misconceptions. One, just about the people in general, that we're kind of boring and waiting for numbers. But the other, I think the biggest thing is when they ask for things, they think we push a button and it just sort of magically appears. Nobody really understands what we do or how we do it. I don't think they think it takes time. If they want something, yeah, you should just be able to go to the system, hit a button, and do it. So we do have to explain that a lot. How things kind of work through the system, how they work on the back end, what we have to look at. We go through that and let them know, no, it's not just a push of a button.
And we do utilize a lot of different systems,
We
and
do.
they don't all interface with each other. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's pulling information from one system that doesn't communicate with a different system. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's putting it in Excel so that we can gather all of the data in order to present it to whoever's asking.
Right. And you know what? Again, to what you're saying, we have a lot of data. They're in different systems, but I think they also believe that if data has been put somewhere, that it's easy for us just to pull it back out. However, they can think about it, we should be able to produce it that way, which would be nice in theory, but no, it does not work that way. You're right. We do a lot of manipulation of data.
I would agree with that. What career advice would you give your younger self? This is a good question.
It's pretty easy. I think I would have told myself to find an industry sooner. It was about 2009, I think, when I decided to pick an industry. I would do it sooner. I would not have probably bounced around from industry to industry.
Then you would have gone through the recession, though.
That's true. That is true. Um, I, yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing. I mean, I enjoyed the other things that I was doing. I was a computer programmer, I've been an analyst, but I do think that I enjoyed this more. I think I'd take that chance.
The career advice I would give my younger self is patience, especially patience in people. That not everyone is going to do what you would do in specific situations. And so you just have to be patient with people. When I was younger in my career, I expected for everyone to be just like me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was very tenacious and just wanted to do everything immediately and get it done. And not everyone was on my timetable or on my schedule. And so they were moving at a different pace, and I didn't understand why. And
That's a
so
good one. I hear my dad all the time in my head saying patience. He would tell me from the time I was little, patience, daughter, patience. So I hear that a lot. I hear it in my head, patience.
how do you create a community within your team and continue to foster those relationships?
That's a hard one. I think it was a lot easier before COVID. We were all in the office. Everybody got along. I mean, we would do lunch, play games, um, hang out after work maybe a little bit. As far as work goes, it was a lot more collaborative. But even during COVID, I don't think it was really that bad. I mean, we got on, I mean, you were there, we got on teams and had our team happy hours, our team, um, just different conversations. People made a real effort. I think it's been a lot harder since COVID. We are in the office on different days. We don't have as many meetings. We're just not thinking about it as much. So recently, like I said, as you know, we started doing event, a quarterly team event. We are now trying to collaborate more with, so everyone doesn't know, on our teams, like your team, my team, we all have an AP person. They work together on different cities, but still kind of collaborate. So we're trying to find more ways for them to collaborate as well. So doing more team trainings, trying to do things specific to all of them. It's just not easy right now, but I think we've just got a good staff, and I think it's on their mind um, to kind of foster those relationships.
I feel like the team trainings are going well though, because
They
people
are.
are asking each other a lot more questions and they're feeling comfortable going to other people.
They are. Yeah, I think it's on. One of the things that I try to tell them is peer to peer. Ask those questions. They come to us. They go to their bosses. Talk to the people that are on your team or do the same thing that you do. If you figure out something that's great, it's something you can share. So, I mean, I think for us and our team, it's really working. But I do think having our quarterly events and then trying to do something monthly, something small, is really helping with the relationships.
Something that I do with my team, and I've always done, and it's been important to me. I have one-on-ones with everyone on my team. So every
Mm-hmm.
direct report with me, and even with my boss, and I've said this with every single boss that I've had, I request a one-on-one. So it's time that that individual, if it's a subordinate of mine, someone who
Mm-hmm.
reports to me, it's time that they have with me, and usually it's an hour. It's time that they have to ask any question that they want. So if they have a question about something work related or something personal, or it's just time that they need to vent about something,
Mm-hmm.
if it could be a work relationship that is stressing them out and they don't know how to handle it, or it could be something personal in their life that they need help with. It's time that's just theirs,
Right.
uninhibited, and it's on the calendar. And I think that that helps foster a bond between that individual and myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows that I'm willing to give my time to them.
Right.
And then I've also set that with my manager,
Mm-hmm.
showing my manager, I need that time from you.
Right.
I have these questions that I'm not going to bother you every single day and ask you one or two questions. I'll save my questions,
Mm-hmm.
but I need this time from you. And so I've done that since I graduated college, just
Mm-hmm.
with my manager at the time because I didn't have any direct reports. I think that that served me really, really well. It's allowed me to foster those bonds. And I've moved around, obviously, and I still have relationships with people who have been my direct reports in the past. And I text them, and they text me pictures of their children and
Mm-hmm.
dogs and all sorts of things. So I think that it's been really, really valuable.
That's awesome. That really is. I mean, I still have relationships with a couple of my old bosses, and like you said, direct reports. A couple of things in here, though, like you were saying, doing the one-on-ones. I think this year we've been more collaborative. So instead of necessarily just having one-on-ones, or in addition to having one-on-ones, having, say, my accountant and my person all in the same meeting so that we can make sure we're on the same page. So I think that's kind of helped too. And I think also it lets lets them know that they can go to each other.
Right.
They're on the same page. They can go to each other. We all know what's going on. So I think that's helped a little bit with them feeling more like a team as well.
Right. And I think having those one on ones kind of sets a precedent
Mm-hmm.
where they know that their time is valuable and they
Yes.
can set that time with other people too. Your AR person can schedule time with an accountant and they know that that time is going to be respected. And if they
Right.
have questions, that they can write them all down, all of their
Mm-hmm.
questions down, and they don't need to send 50 emails in one day. They can just
Yes.
wait and then consolidate all of their questions and send one email requesting an invite and
Mm-hmm.
then get all of their questions answered in one meeting. I do like the collaborative nature of what we have going. So I think these one-on-ones are really helpful. So Gwen, what are you most excited about or looking forward to professionally in the next year?
I'm really looking forward to a lot of changes in the corporate department and I guess the company as a whole. We've just implemented new expense software. We haven't done it in Houston yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to getting that out there and training that staff. Additional trainings in our department specifically. We've just started doing some. I've got Excel training next week that I'm going to set up. We're going to try to do something periodically to help the staff, make them feel more comfortable. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Hopefully at the end of the year, maybe beginning of next year, looking forward to possibly new accounting software for the corporate department. It would definitely make it easier on reconciling AR, getting out statements, that kind of thing. So I'm really just wanting to see where we go as far as the software goes for the company as a whole, and what new things and better things we'll be able to do.
Well, I can tell you the expense reporting software that we have in place, at least for some of my markets that have implemented it, it's been going really, really well so far.
Great.
So I'm really excited for the rest of the company to roll that out. I
Mm-hmm.
think everyone's really going to like it. I think it's going to be so much more efficient. So I'm really
Definitely.
excited about that. And then the trainings, I think that those are just going to go extremely
Mm-hmm.
well. I think the trainings that we've already done have gone well. And I think everyone's really enjoyed them so far. And Excel is just one of those things that I feel like you can just always learn something.
There are definitely lots of shortcuts, and we're going to try to specifically make the Excel training very personal. Especially the basic kind. We'll have people bring in their own spreadsheets, things they use. We want to make it something that they can start with right away, not just a bunch of stuff that we've learned and at some point we'll get to use it. We want you to be able to use it now.
Right. So using formulas that they're going to be
Mm-hmm.
able to go back to their desks and immediately use rather
Correct.
than formulas that they'll never use ever.
Right,
So,
right. So we're
yeah.
going to try and make it really specific to them.
What do you think someone would say about working with you and the team?
I think one of the big things, especially working with Houston and some of the feedback that we've gotten, is that we're not going to give you necessarily what you ask for, but we will give you what you need. So we really try to figure out what is it you need and where you're trying to get to, so we can make sure we provide the right information, not just what you think you want to see. As an example, we had one person ask about some expense information, and they were just wanted us to PDF some stuff, whatever. It's like, okay, tell me what you're trying to get to, and let us figure this out. And we figured out a way to get it in an actual Excel version so they can manipulate it and get what they needed. So I think that's the biggest thing about the team.
Do you also provide information for Nashville? I know that you assist with that market as well.
We provide a little bit of information for Nashville, not to the extent that we do for Houston now, but I think they're still getting their footing as we really get Houston worked out. I think we have some things that we can go back and offer to the other cities and other markets.
What do you think that other markets could learn from Houston? I know that you've handled Houston for years now.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think that the partners are missing that the partners in Houston have really honed in on?
Well, AR is always a big thing at any company, no matter where you go. We have a biweekly or bi-monthly meeting on AR. In addition to just the reports that spit out of the system, I do provide pivot tables and other information and detail that they can look at. I think that information would actually, give them better look at exactly what's going on, which customers are slow pay, um, basically that kind of information. But also, when you have the meeting and you can talk to the accountant, you can get feedback there, and that may be valuable. Sometimes we know things that they don't necessarily know, and vice versa. So I really think that's one of the things that the cities can do and should do. A couple other things that we do in addition to that, we use Teams for everything. So it makes it easier for the accountant. Instead of having to send out information and consolidate information, we all can work on one sheet. We can all work in one place, and
Okay.
it's very collaborative, and everyone can see the answers pretty instantaneously. So
So,
I
like
think
file
that's,
sharing.
yeah, we do a lot of file sharing for our AP, for our AR, just random things. We put it out there.
I'm sure that helps, especially with like duplicate files, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
don't have one file floating out there with the same exact name that might be an older version if
Right.
you're sending it via email.
Hmm. Right. Before doing that, we would send out a file and get back six, seven, 8 files. Then we'd have to combine the files and then send them out. And hopefully you didn't miss anything, or hopefully you didn't overwrite some information. So this is much better.
Anything else the other partners in other markets might be able to learn from Houston?
I'm sure there probably is, but nothing I can think of right now. I will say they include us a lot, and I'm not sure to what extent they include the accountants, but they include us a lot. We really are. We really can be a resource. I do think we should compare some of the reporting that we send out, and just for them to take a look and see, is this something you get? Is it something you would find valuable? To maybe try and come up with a singular package that we can send out to all markets.
Well, that's great that you feel like you're part of the Houston team. You don't feel necessarily like you're 100% Stream Corporate Accounting. You feel like you're Stream Corporate Accounting and part of Stream Houston.
Right.
So
Yeah. When I
that's
got
awesome.
first started, I traveled to Houston a lot. So you get to meet everybody, you get to see faces. And I don't travel as much now, but we get on Zoom. People can definitely reach out to you. We talk on Teams a lot. So yeah, especially when you have people that have been there a while, like I've been here a while, you do get to make relationships, and that's great.
Well, we talked earlier about fostering those relationships and one on
Hmm.
ones. And it sounds like with those bi monthly meetings that you have been able to foster those relationships through those meetings.
Oh,
So
definitely.
that's
Definitely. I
wonderful.
think they're important. I think all the cities should do it.
What's some advice that you would give someone starting out in their career?
Probably a couple things. I think the biggest one would be learn. Learn everything you can. People go to jobs and think they feel like this is my job and this is what I'm going to do. But that's not good enough. Especially if you're young and you want to advance, you should be learning. If you're not learning, it may be time for another job. Or maybe it's time for you to figure out a way to implement some learning into your job. Find a way you can be work with other people, other teams, but you definitely should be learning. I think the other thing would be when people tell you the grass is not greener, don't necessarily believe that. You find people that get into positions that are in great positions at their company, no reason for them to leave at all whatsoever. But if you're not learning, maybe you need to go somewhere else. I mean, that may just be an option. So,
So I feel like, especially in our department, we need someone who is a self starter and a go getter. People who are highly organized. I would tell someone starting out that you need to be a self motivator.
hmm,
That if you're sitting there and you don't have something to do, find something to do.
right.
Ask somebody, ask someone if they need help. And if you're also sitting there and you don't have anything to do, you're probably not much of a go getter. So
Hmm.
you need to have some type of drive. If you're happy just being complacent, then this is probably not the right place for you. I would say that stream, especially, is not the right place for you. Excellence is one of our 4 pillars. And I think that not having that drive, you're not striving for excellence. I think that organization, especially in what we do in accounting, is absolutely imperative. And I think in a lot of other different positions, I would assume in marketing, in recruiting, in brokerage, you have to be organized. You have to know your different clients, your different deals, whatever you have going on. In recruiting, you have to have the different candidates and the different open positions. So there's a lot of organization that needs to go on. So I would say those are probably the 3 things that I would tell someone starting out.
I definitely agree. I think that goes to the learn part. You should always be learning something. I mean, if you're doing the same thing day in and day out, what are you what are you going to learn next? Put yourself out there. It's on you ultimately. I mean, it's your responsibility to better yourself. So,
Gwen, how do you foster relationships within Stream but outside of our department?
it really is about thinking about our customers. When I think about Houston, I actually reach out to the individuals and ask them, what do you need? What can I do for you? When new people come on, we send them information. We try and talk to them about what's going on. And this is more specifically for the property management side. But we try and talk to them about their specific needs and just let them know that we're there. And eventually they ask questions. We go back and forth. With the brokers, it's kind of easy. They have deals coming through, and we will always have a question. So we talk to the brokers. We let them know this is what we can do for you. They come to us and ask us questions about their deals, about how they're getting built. Eventually, it kind of develops into a relationship. I mean, they get to know you. They get to know what you're willing to do, what you're capable of doing, and then it just kind of goes from there.
So it's funny that you said clients and customers because I was literally having a conversation with one of my direct reports about this. And I was telling her that even though she's at her specific level, that it doesn't mean that she's not a leader. So even though she doesn't have any direct reports, doesn't mean that she's not helping direct specific things. And so she needs to view herself as a leader and she needs to view herself as a director. She has to look at things as though they're her clients, as people as her clients.
Mm-hmm.
I'm her manager, and so she views me as her client, but the opposite is true. I view her as my client. And so there are times when she needs information from me, and so she needs to lead me. And so she needs to tell me, Kelly, I need the information that I asked you for yesterday. Can you please provide me with that information? It's about treating everyone. This is how I view our
Mm-hmm.
department. And I think it's kind of in our name, shared team services, that everyone is our client. And I even view that as inside of our department too. AR is my customer, AP
Mm-hmm.
is my customer, Houston is my customer if I'm SRP. So I really do view everyone as my customer, even other departments. So national marketing is my customer
Mm-hmm.
if I'm sure team services. So I talk about this with Tiffany Winnie because I handle Phoenix. So when I talk with her, I tell her, "You're my customer, and I want to provide you the best customer service. So what can I be doing for you? What have I not provided you?" And so I think that we do need to be providing the best customer service possible. And I think when we view ourselves as the providers of customer service, then we really are fostering those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And when people see us as that, like provider of customer service and showing that we really do care about them and we really are trying to provide them with whatever they need, then they are willing to take whatever relationship we have to the next level. Sometimes people need things very quickly, and sometimes emails come off very harsh at times. But when you're willing to show them that they're your customer and you're willing to jump through whatever hoops they need in order to get whatever it is as quickly as possible, then a lot of times they're super grateful. So, and it's just about providing that customer service. But sometimes they may need something very quickly, and then you have to turn around and lead them and say, I know you need that right now, but I need this from you in order to make that happen.
I think along the same lines, talking about employees, the people that work for me that I work with, during our reviews this year, I really had to break it down to them and explain to them why they are so valuable to what we do and why they're so valuable to the company. I mean, you're not just sitting here putting an invoice in and getting an invoice paid. I mean, there's a lot of coding, there's a lot of questions. In the end, you're helping provide accurate financials. You are helping provide information to our customers, to our clients, for them to make business decisions on. So I think they need to understand how valuable they are and what they do.
I think that's so true. And I also had that on my review several times. And I think that was one of the questions basically was on the review at the end of the year was how are you contributing to the success of either your department or stream? I can't remember what exactly it said, but a lot of them just said something very basic about their specific job. If it was AP, it was I code invoices. If it was AR, it was I create commission invoices, or it was I apply cash receipts, or whatever it was. And I feel like they really weren't able to take a step back and see how much of a service they really provide the company as a whole. If those cash receipts aren't entered, then we don't truly understand what a cash position is. If those commissions aren't entered, we don't know what our revenue is. if the AP isn't injured, we don't know what our liabilities are. So they're truly providing a great service and helping us prepare our financial statements.
No, that was definitely something we went over, and I think it's really important for them to foster those relationships as well. I mean, a lot of information comes in, but they do go through AR and AP first before they even get to us. So it's very important for them to be able to pick up the phone, to write an email, and call someone and ask, what was the intent here? What were you trying to do? Where should this go? Hey, I received this check and I'm not sure what to do with it. I don't think it belongs to us. So, it's great that we have the relationships, but it's very important that they have those relationships as well because they do a lot of work way before information gets to us. And we definitely need that information and we need it to be correct. So it's really important for them to have those relationships, which I think they do.
And it's also important for the person on the other end speaking with AP or AR to understand why exactly they're being asked that question. And I don't know if they really understand why, but if they have an expense report that they're submitting and one of our AP people is asking, well, what exactly is this for? The reason why they're asking is because we're not able to submit um, accurate tax returns because we're not able to classify the expenses correctly. So they're asking on behalf of the accountant, basically. So it's really important that I think everyone understands why they're asking these questions. It's not to be a pain, it's not to be a nuisance. It's because they're just trying to do their jobs and do things correctly.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, maybe we're carrying extra expense on our books that should have been billed back that we could have collected cash for, but now it's sitting on our books, which, goes straight to the bottom line. So they really do need to understand that we are really, that the AR and AP people are really just trying to get accurate information.
Well, Quinn, it was so lovely chatting with you today. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for inviting me to chat with you. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.